Hey guys, my name is Haley, and today I am here to film my September wrap-up. I've already tried to film this once and accidentally clicked the wrong thing and deleted the footage. So, recap, my voice is slowly disappearing because I have a really bad sore throat. So if you can hear that, I apologize. So the first thing I read this month, or rather finished this month, was The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. I love the Lord of the Rings movies. They're my favorite things. They're some of my favorite movies ever, and I've just never read the series. So when I got these mass market paperbacks at thrift store and half-price books, I decided it was time to finally read the series. So I actually dog-eared these mass market paperbacks because they're too small for me to put tabs in. I don't have tabs that tiny, and they're already beat up anyway, so I figured dog earing wasn't gonna kill them. I really enjoyed this, actually. I liked learning more about the world, and even though, like, Tolkien's writing is a little bit dense, not even necessarily dense, just very descriptive. Aragorn has always been my favorite character, like, watching the movies growing up, so I was very excited to learn and see more of him in this. And Legolas and Gimli are just the funniest things, and I loved seeing more of the elves. We don't get a whole lot of the elves, I feel like, in the movie, or at least not as much of description of who they are and how they came to be and, like, their names and such, or more about their magic even. I feel like their magic isn't very explained, so I did really enjoy this. It did take me a while to get through, but I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars because I don't think I could give anything that's from this world of Middle-earth less than 5 stars because I love it so much. Next, I picked up An Ember in the Ashes. This is a reread for me because this was my favorite book of last year, right next to Illuminae. I tabbed it this time. And fun fact about me in this series is the first time I read this, I really did not like Helene. I don't know if it's just because she, like, was sort of part of the love triangle thing going on in this book, but this time around I actually really ended up liking her. Like, I was interested in her feelings and I was like, oh, I feel so bad for her, which is not at all who I was the first time around. So I thought that was really interesting going back into this with a reread. I forgot how incredibly fast-paced this book is. Like, once you hit the part with the trials somewhere about the halfway mark, I just flew through the rest of it. I love this world. I love the characters. I love Elias. Is definitely one of my favorite book boyfriends, and I don't get boyfriends very often. Next up, we have The Young Avengers Volume 1, Style Over Substance. This I just randomly picked up, not knowing anything about the Young Avengers or how they came to be or what their lineage is, which probably wasn't the smartest idea, for being honest. I really liked the dialogue and, like, the characters that are in this. I particularly loved the Loki character. He was really funny and he was really entertaining to read. I honestly don't even know, like, half these people's names, but I really enjoyed the storyline. The artwork is really pretty. And I guess the third volume of this is, like, really hard to find, and I'm not sure why. I think I found the second one on Amazon that I could get a hold of, but I don't know where to find that third one. So if you know, please let me know. I read Rotten Ruin by Jonathan Mayberry. I think I mentioned this in my Friday Reads video. This is a zombie series, and that was all I knew going into it, except for the fact that they're beautiful. Like, these covers. I really like the concept of this. I like the zombie apocalypse world. I like the way that it's fleshed out throughout the story. But my biggest problem with this is actually the romance, and it's probably a lot to do with the fact that our main character is a 15-year-old boy. And I just don't like reading from, like, teenage boys' perspectives. I've noticed that. I can't even do it in contemporaries. Like, I just don't like being in that mindset. And he's just really indecisive when it comes to this girl, and he doesn't know what he wants. And I don't know if I don't like the romance, like the main romance in this, because I don't like reading from a boy's, like, teenage boy's perspective, or if I just don't like those two characters together. But that was the main reason I gave this 3.5 stars. Not my jam, especially, like, in a zombie apocalypse situation when I'm much more interested in, like, the villains and the actual zombies. So it was a solid start to the series, I will give it that. Next up, I read Earth Song by Lady Yates. This is a webcomic, I believe, that I've never heard of, and it was $3 at Half Price Books, and that's why I bought it. Because the artwork is beautiful too. This story was very confusing in the beginning, and I did not know what was going on for about half of it, and it got explained more towards the end, but I don't know, the world was kind of confusing to me. I thought it was okay. I don't know if I'll pick up the second one or not. I'm not gonna go out of my way to find it, I don't think. Next up, I read A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. This is a signed copy that I got for $15 at Half Price Books. I love this series. I love the way the world was expanded in this one. As you can see, I quite enjoyed a lot of things. I love that we learned so much more about the Jinn themselves. The warden in this is probably one of the creepiest characters I've ever read about. He creeps me out. He's just so sadistic and, but the end of this was crazy. Like, I didn't see half the things coming. I thought I knew what was coming, but I was so wrong, and I was just, nope, I did not guess it. There's a character in here who, if you've read my reviews of either the first one or this one, you'll know I just don't like. And that was a lot of the reason that this one got a little bit lower. Like, it might be a 4.75 rather than a full 5 out of 5, but in my heart, it's a 5 out of 5 stars because I love these characters and I love Elias, and Laia is definitely growing on me, and I don't even know where this series is going, but I'm really excited about that. I think it was a solid sequel, and I can't wait for the third and fourth ones that are coming out, although I don't think the third one's coming out till 2018, which is really depressing. And then next up, I read Namesake by Isabel Melicon and Megan Levy-Heaton. I was expecting this to be kind of like Earthsong, because it is a webcomic, I believe, and I expected it to be really confusing, just like that one was. But it really wasn't that confusing. I ended up really loving the world and like the idea of namesakes that we learn about in here. So essentially what a namesake is in classic fairy tales, so for instance The Wizard of Oz, the namesake would be the main character of that story. So in this case it would be Dorothy. So every so often a Dorothy gets sent, or a namesake gets sent if their name is Dorothy, to live out Dorothy's story in that world. So the stories that we all know and love. In this case, we have a namesake her name is Emma, which isn't a name in any like fairy tale that I know, at least. And she gets sent to Oz, and they just assume she's another Dorothy, even though her name's not Dorothy. And of course, Emma doesn't know she's a namesake. She doesn't know what's going on. And Emma is such a sassy and just funny main character to read from. Like, she's just like, oh, of course, I'm in Oz. Oh, of course, there's the Wicked Witch. Like, that kind of thing. She's like, oh, I know this story. Like, I can find my way out of this. But it's like the classic Wizard of Oz story, but turned on its head with, like, different generations of characters. And I just loved it so much. Like, I loved the sass. I loved the way the stories went in a way I wasn't expecting. I really need to get my hands on the second volume of this because I loved it so much. I don't give graphic novels 5 out of 5 stars that often because I feel like there's not enough time to develop the story. But this one definitely did it really well. And I really like the way the artwork is done in here too. Like, it's told mostly in black and white, but there's like pops of color when it's like important to know who something is or to pay attention to something, and I really like it a lot. Next, I read Dust and Decay by Jonathan Mayberry, which is the second book in the Rotten Ruin series. Again, these books are beautiful. I love this spine. It's probably one of my favorites. Look at that cover. Look at the inside cover. Oh my gosh. I really liked the way this story went in this, and we got to see a lot more of like the survivors out in the ruin and not just the evil ones like we did in the first book. But again, the romance was kind of getting on my nerves. There's a lot of like close calls in this one too, which I really like in zombie things. Like, oh, you're bit. Oh, maybe you're not. Like, because anybody who watches The Walking Dead or really any zombie thing, most of the time, if you're bit, you're done. Like, there's no saving you. There's no, like, there's nothing that can be done. And you need to be killed, and you have to have, in this case, they stab the zombies through the brainstem, like at the back of your neck, and they call it silencing them. I really enjoy the series. I enjoy the cast of characters. I just don't like the romance aspect of our, like, main cast. There was a really creepy preacher dude in this one. Like, there's a lot of, like, talk. Like, the main focus of this series that makes it very different from The Walking Dead is the fact that zombies were once people, and they focus a lot on the morality of that, of like killing people. But there's also a lot of religious fanatics in this world, or at least they've come across a couple of them, that believe that the zombies are like, in terms of the Bible, the meek shall inherit the earth. They believe that the zombies are the meek. So they think that this is an act of God, that the zombies have come back to life, and like they regard them as holy beings that have been brought back by God. And it's so creepy, especially from a Christian's perspective, like I am, and I'm just really creeped out by it. His name, I think his name's Preacher Jack in this. He's so scary that he's like so sure that he's doing the right thing. His morals are so twisted, and I really do enjoy this series a lot, and I think it's a fun zombie series. I just wish that the romance thing with the 15-year-olds would stop. And lastly, which I finished right before I started filming this, is The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is actually my least favorite movie, so I wasn't expecting to like this one that much. I think the reason that it's my least favorite movie is I don't really like the writers of Rohan. Like, they're not the most interesting characters to me. Theoden isn't my favorite character or anything. I like that in this book, it is split up so that this first chunk, which is the bigger chunk, is Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli and their group, which is the storyline I'm more interested in most of the time in these books, or in this story. And then the second smaller part is Frodo and Sam and Gollum. So having it split up, I think, really helped, so I wasn't constantly wanting to go back to a different perspective. But I'm pretty sure the movie like intersperses the two storylines, and I'm always like dreading the Frodo and Sam parts because all they're doing is traveling. And I feel like the storyline was a little bit different than what I'm used to in the movies. So it's hard for me to like separate them in my head because I know the movies so well. My favorite part of this movie, and including this book even, is the battle for Helm's Deep. I love that Gimli and Legolas have like this competition going in the Battle of Helm's Deep of how many orcs each of them can kill, trying to like out-kill each other. Because it's like this really serious situation, and Gimli's like, oh, I killed like 35, and Legolas is, but I've killed like 39, you're slacking. It's so funny to me. I feel like the Battle of Helm's Deep went differently. I don't know if it's just because I've been so long since I've seen the movies, but I feel like the elves were involved in the Battle of Helm's Deep, and they weren't in this one, or if they were, I missed it while I was trying to read through like the action scenes. Because I remember specifically Haldir, because I don't know a whole lot about Haldir in the movies because they don't mention him that much. I don't know if my mind's just muddled from having not seen them for years, but yeah, I felt like the storyline was slightly different from what I'm used to. So yeah, those are all the books I read in the month of September. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you guys next time.